Mason, the last few days, especially early in the week with practices, I think Ty said, and other guys like Nick Batum said, that like people are becoming more vocal, trying to get everybody on the same page, especially communicating defensively. And I think Ty said like Kawhi and PG are kind of like led a little bit more. Have you heard their voice more? Is there any example that or moment you remember from this week in practice that kind of stood out to you?
You know, that may be the case. I haven't noticed personally, but I know our defense was better last game.
Why? Is there anything that's led to that?
Not sure. I just think probably more solid in what we were doing, and then you know, I think it translated well last game.
Did you notice a change in, I guess, how many people saw you, or you know? I think some of your offensive versatility has been a little underrated, given that you were all the way on the East Coast, a team that wasn't, you know, watched as much. Or do you feel like that's been a little underrated part of your game in general?
Maybe, but you know, to be honest, maybe one of the things is just playing on TV, like being in, you know, the last situation we weren't on national TV a lot, so I think sometimes that has something to do with it. But you know, there's a lot of offense on this team, so you know. I think more importantly, like would be like bringing defense and then physicality inside.
Kawhi was on the point of communication. Kawhi was just saying, like, just literally on the court, like within plays, he felt like people
more talk there.
More talk. Have you just even like within a set heard more communication just defensively?
Like I said, I mean, that's a great thing if that's the case. I feel like I'm always talking on defense, so. Maybe I should be listening. But no, I just, to me, the defense was better last game, and that's a good thing.
What's been, before this 2-game win streak you guys had, turnovers were a major problem for you guys. What's been the key to toning that down and being able to value the possession more?
Yeah, I think there's some of that's just going to naturally happen when you introduce a handful of new key rotation players and understanding things like how guys come off the screens or when certain guys cut versus hold a position. I think there's one like with Russ was in the slot and Paul was driving and Russ went to cut. So like to me it's just good that we have the regular season to work through, and you know, we practiced a little more last week, which I think will help. And you know, a lot of them I think will disappear as we get more familiar with each other. Like I'm trying to understand game, you know, getting better with Eric when I set a pick and roll for him, when he's going to press their feet, when he's going to pull up. Same with those other guys that we screen for.
How important is the regular season for this team, considering we haven't seen Norm that much with the new guys?
Yeah.
You know, can you just kind of turn it on in the playoffs, or do you need this time to value this time?
We need this time for sure. I think every game's important. You know, there's no experience like live action, so and we're playing good teams too, which is good. So I think it's really important.
Is that like kind of like, I think at Sacramento, so there was this one moment where you and Russ kind of both had your hands up in the air, and then you talked something out, and Russ put his hands on your chest. Like, I think it was probably just some sort of communication thing, right, on defense.
Yeah, yes, I actually remember the play. Yeah, so something like that where we're blitzing, but not out of the down coverage. You know, we blitzed out of sending it to the screen, and I had messed that up. So I just think, and maybe like to what you guys were speaking to earlier, it's when you have teammates coaching it as well as the coaches. I think that's a good dynamic.
With the depth on this team, and you could probably speak to this because, I mean, your role fluctuates a lot. There might be nights where, I mean, if Zoo's out, you're playing a lot, and then if he's in, you're not playing as much. How have you sensed the vibe of guys who maybe get big minutes on some nights and then other nights don't? Like, what's the cohesion like with this group when that dynamic is at play?
I think it's easy on this team to be happy for the next guy. So, you know, that's the way I look at it. Nobody likes not playing, but you know, when it's for a greater cause or a winning effort, like, it makes it enjoyable, and you can cheer for the next guy. So I don't see that being an issue. I can't imagine it has been, because I haven't watched, before I got here I didn't watch a ton of the Clippers, but it seems like Ty coaches off of feel and who's playing well, which you know, is a player preference, and I think that's a good thing.
And then just with the overall familiarity that you were talking about with the new guys trying to learn the spots and what guys like to do, from where you guys were when you first showed up after the trade deadline to where you are now, just how close do you think you are to being where you need to be with that familiarity?
It can just always get better. I think there's definitely been progress, and it's only going to get better, and it has to for us. So that's the focus.
Personally, do you feel how comfortable are you in the scheme here?
Just getting more comfortable each day, each game, and then with different players. I think things change based on who's on the floor. So I'm getting more comfortable with it.
Has the team or coaching staff tried to find like a pairing that works for you, like a Terrence or a Russ or anything like that, a guard big combo with you that kind of
potentially, to be honest, they may just be looking at it and not, we don't go into a game saying, hey, I'm going to look at you and so in the pick and roll, right? It's just understanding who the guys are to get open, and but yeah, I'm sure that they're looking at stuff like that.
Do you have anyone you found you like playing with?
I mean, to me, the way when I'm on the floor, I just think about like my teammates' strengths, and then where, like, to me, I love like Russ on the back down. I get to the dunker and try to make my guy make a decision, right? Or like, to me, Terrence is a great cutter. Paul's great in the pick and roll. Kawhi wants more space. He probably is less interested in bringing an extra defender into the situation. So like, those are just the things that you think about depending on who's out there.
How closely do you follow the standings? I feel like usually it's something we ask people like the last 2 weeks of the year.
Yeah.
I think you're so bunched up so tightly.
Yeah, I've been looking after every game. I mean, I think it's a fun race. It's a lot of good teams, and every game matters. So, like, I know we're talking a lot about like getting better and more comfortable in progress, but like winning is the most important thing right now. So.
Does this for you feel like Brooklyn when they tried to literally bring all these different pieces and stars together, and it was rough in the beginning, but then you guys figured it out? Does it feel like that?
That's a good comparison. I would just say this. I would say more players in their prime here. that team was we're a little old.
But it was rocking.
No, it's a good. Yeah, no, it's a really good, and guys who have played a certain way for a very long time, and so I from that sense, absolutely, but. To me, this is certainly a team that has a much higher ceiling, and that's why I'm excited to be here.
Thanks, man. Thanks, man.
Thank you.
You ready to find Mason?
Let's get ready for HoopJab.